Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Action with podcast. Today, I'm here with another special guest, Tracy Jefferson, who is joining us all the way from United States of America. Tracy is one of the well-known IBM champion and a respected thought leader in the tech industry, who brings over 40 plus years of experience in the technology solution space with a deep expertise in facilities management and corporate real estate. Tracy's career has spanned managing complex global teams, driving innovation, and working with cutting edge technologies like IBM TRIRIGA. So, today in this episode, we will talk about his journey in tech and also about his passion for IBM technologies. But before we start the discussion, I would like to thank Tracy for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to join the podcast, and it's great. So, I've been in the industry really in software development going back into the late '70s when PCs and the first Apples were coming out. So I was originally a developer starting professionally in 1981.
Okay.
And boy, the industry's changed a lot, and the technology sure has changed. And looking forward to what happens in the real estate and facilities markets, going forward, because there's a lot of change taking place.
Right. Okay. And if we talk about your journey, so you have over 40 years of experience in the technology solution space, particularly in facility management and corporate real estate. So can you tell us about your journey, like what initially sparked your interest in this particular industry and how the things started there, early back in there?
Well, it was kind of an accident, honestly. Back in the
Mhm.
early '80s, I mentioned I started with early PCs and desktop computing, and I worked a lot with AE firms, architects and engineers, around
Mhm.
bringing billing in-house from using service bureaus at the time that were very expensive to using desktop computing. And
Okay.
and I really became very much a specialist in that industry over the years. And in 2005, a friend of mine, a former teammate of mine, called me and said, I'm working for this company called TRIRIGA in Las Vegas. And
Mhm.
I think it's something you would really get into with the whole facilities and corporate real estate market. And here I am in June, it'll be 20 years. I'm still in that market and working with products like TRIRIGA.
Mhm. Okay. All right. And like you have managed complex global teams across various departments. So, what's one of the most valuable lessons you have learned about the leadership and team management over the years?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. One, um, I learned kind of the hard way
Mhm.
when you're dealing with a team across multiple countries in particular. English is typically a common language, but
Yes.
how different cultures in different countries, and even within a country, how you use English varies. So I've
Correct.
done presentation where I used terms that were common to the particular region in the US where I was raised. And I found out later that people had no idea what I was talking about when I would use some of the terms. So that
Okay.
was actually been an important lesson, is watch how you utilize even a common language like English to make sure that you stay very kind of general. Don't go into your regional terminology. So that's one
Right.
thing. The second thing is, when you're building a team that's international and global, you need to have ways for the team to work together and learn about each other's cultures too, because it makes a difference when you have cultural diversity in an organization for people to really understand each other. And I've found that there's a lot of curiosity around the different nations and all. So I've always worked to encourage discussions that are not just about work, but to learn about each other and each other's cultures. And
Yes.
that really has helped a
Mhm.
lot.
Okay. And did you face any other challenges while working with different cultures apart from this language barriers? Because sometimes we feel other things also when we are working with the different cultures.
Well, when you're working across cultures as a company that's diverse, you deal a lot with differences, even how you run meetings. You deal
Right.
with differences in taxation and legal and time zones. There are many challenges to working across different time zones and different cultures and countries. And even something where if you talk about sustainability, for instance, you have certain reporting requirements that are global, but every country also has their own uniqueness A lot of times you
Yes.
have local reporting requirements and all. So part of the hard part almost when you're talking global and you're dealing with technologies across maybe it's the same technology but spanning countries, is all of the little nuances that you have to get into to make sure you're successful. You have to
Right.
be open-minded and you have to learn to listen a lot because you may have a solution that you think solves everybody's problems and it probably doesn't.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And like you have been working, or like you have worked with IBM TRIRIGA since 2005, and now you are a designated IBM champion. So what has been the most significant change or advancement in the IWMS space you witnessed during your time in the industry?
Yeah, IWMS has certainly evolved. Originally, IWMS, integrated workplace management. So it's a very broad set of functionality from when you're planning like a location or facility, all, going through the acquisition process, the lease administration, the deal making, if you will, building or renovating the location, and
Mhm.
managing the space and facilities maintenance comes into play, sustainability, capital project. There's all these different components of it. And there's been a lot of change. Some of it's behind the scenes technology, but we've also seen the one big product, and then you have a lot of ability to have specialized tools. I think that's the biggest change is a lot of point solutions that exist. So it went from having a TRIRIGA, which was one product meant to fit all, to having a lot of times massive integration projects. TRIRIGA is about integrations, frankly. You've got a lot of different sources of data now, a lot of different
Mhm.
ways to view data, lots of types of data, more so than we ever dreamt of, I think, back in the early 2000s. So that's what I see. And of course, now we're seeing AI come more into play. We're seeing
Yes.
analytics and KPIs. There's all these things coming into play now that are making this evolve.
Okay. And as you just mentioned about the AI, so what do you see as the future of IWMS and sustainability technologies in the facility management sector? And how do you think that company can leverage these tools to achieve the greater environmental as well as operational efficiency?
Well, I think of where a lot of things like AI are coming in is in changing, like even a facility manager. Who is a facility manager? That used to be 10, 15 years ago, the person who was a facility manager was often the best person at fixing things or understood how systems work really in depth.
Mhm.
But now you're seeing a lot of the facility managers that are coming out are younger generation, people who understand the technology, who understand data points, who understand more at a high level how you have to flow data across a facility, how to measure results. They have to understand more about the human factor. It's not just about an air conditioning system's working, it's how does that impact the human people
Correct.
that work inside of a floor or a space. So you have to have a lot more variety of skills now than ever before. Now, AI, of course, is bringing even more data into play, and AI has the ability to look at data that no person can really take apart themselves. I can have a million data records showing up at any given time, within seconds or minutes. And
Mhm.
a human can't really go through all of that data and make decisions, but AI can. So now you're going to be interacting with AI to make better decisions and have help making them. And even
Right.
the guys who are out in the field who are going room to room and solving problems are going to have so much more real-time information and more data to help them fix things right the first time. A lot of times you go into a facility and have a problem, someone goes in and says it's fixed, and 3 hours later you get another call about it because maybe you fixed the problem on the surface, but you didn't find the root cause and solve
Yes.
that. And I think AI is going to make a big change in that area as well. So smart buildings really may be the single biggest driver of what happens with facilities. You have companies like Schneider out there who are really turning buildings into very intelligent platforms of information. So your people who interact with those systems and take actions from them, that whole field is just changing every day.
Okay. Okay, let's talk a bit more about the IWMS. So, how does the integration of IWMS and sustainability products like IBM TRIRIGA, NVZ, Planon, and Nuvolo create a better workspace experience for the employees?
Well, I say those products themselves don't make the experience better.
Okay.
It's what you do with those products. So that's the key, is implementing those products correctly. You have
Correct.
massive amount of functionality available in any of the products you just mentioned. Okay, so how you implement that is really the key, because if I implement it right and I have the right data, and data is the key to everything here, and
Right.
not just volumes of data, quality data, data that's standardized. These are so important for us in terms of making sure we can make good decisions about the employee experience, because people today don't want to go sit in a bright office with a lot of background noise in a cubicle. They want to have more personalized experience. So one of the keys those systems can do is provide the information for us as facility managers or space planners or project managers for capital improvements or sustainability managers. How do we take that information and actually put it to practice? So the key is getting the systems in right, but have the processes in place that effectively utilize that information to make the employee experience better.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So, like you have a strong focus on environment sustainability and ESG also. So, can you share your thought, like how on how a business can create a more sustainable workplace, especially in the context of facility management?
So one of the key words here is, what is a sustainable workplace? Right? People often think sustainability, they're, oh, well, that's just about the environment. That's about, taking your rubbish out and recycling. That's about driving less or using more efficient vehicles. That's only part of it. A sustainable workplace is not only one that's environmentally friendly, but it's sustainable because people want to come to work there. They like the culture. They want to stay. The building, it's sustainable because we are maybe involved in our communities. We have loyalty to our communities and we give back.
Right.
And we have oversight in our governance side. So what I consider a sustainable enterprise is one that's not only looking at the environment, but it's looking at the big picture. So all of these technologies that are available, again, you need to leverage all the different pieces of information to make that business sustainable, to make people say, you know what, I love my company and I love my job. I want to be here. And that's what a lot of what we're trying to do. A sustainable business, again, is it's not just about environmental. And I think people are learning more and more. And the concept of ESG is just that. It's
Yeah.
not just environmental sustainability, which is very critical. I don't want to underplay that, because the world is really struggling now from climate change and things like that. But we have to also do things like retrain people. AI is bringing in new ways of doing things. If we have people in the workforce and we don't retrain to use AI to leverage the new technologies, then they get left out. So part of a sustainable business is that we need to make sure we're keeping our people, retraining them, giving them new opportunities, bringing them tools, bringing them an environment inside the building and outside the environment or outside the building that's really good for them. And we build a long-term sustainable business by doing that.
Okay. All right. So, Tracy, like you are also a founding member of the Tampa Bay chapter of the Private Directors Association and a member of IFMA and OSCRE. So, how has your involvement in these organizations shaped your perspective on the corporate real estate and facility management?
Well, I think from all three of those are very different animals, if you
Okay.
will. So if we look at PDA, the Private Directors Association,
Mhm.
that is really looking at the board of directors, the governance side of a business. So what that has done for me is bring me into a world of different companies with different sets of problems and how they solve those. Sometimes those companies are owned by investors. Sometimes they're just like a family business. So I really have enjoyed working with the Private Directors Association, because it's given me a lot of different information from a different way of running different businesses. So that helps me every day, whether it's facility management or just dealing with our customers and understanding customers' needs and problems. Now, IFMA, of course, is all about facilities management. And being involved with IFMA has been really great because, again, you have different companies, different markets, different technologies. There's so much going on in the world of facilities management. Being involved with IFMA is very critical. And IFMA also does things around up and coming people. So there is the IFMA Foundation, for instance, that helps with college scholarships. So kids that are in universities can make sure they get through and that they're going to enter the facilities field. So that has been really important part of IFMA. And then last that you mentioned was Oscar. Now, Oscar is a global standards around the real estate industry. And
Mhm.
I actually have just joined the product management board there because we're looking at how to have data that is standardized. How do we have data stewards? How do we do data governance? How do we do roadmaps to make sure you're getting the right data? It's easy to say, well, we have lots and lots of data, but is it any good? Right? Is there
Right.
good quality? Is it auditable? Are you using data standardized so that we can do reporting and analytics against it so that we can feed it into AI? You know, AI is a great thing, but AI is not going to help you a lot if you feed it garbage. You've got to feed AI intelligent information for it to analyze and come back with recommendations and comments on. So data is really a key, and Oscar is a company at the forefront of data that is standardized and the data governance. So all of those have had huge impacts on not only myself, but our team and our customers.
Okay. Okay. And here I want to ask you one question. Like if let's say if someone is there who wanted to pursue their career for the facility management in this area. So what piece of advice would you like to give all those person, like how they can start how, what would be the exact roadmap for them to pursue this domain?
Well, I think a lot of your people who are going to get into facilities management today, you have to have a college degree now. You need to have a degree in something like facilities management. And there's a big emphasis on understanding data and what data is and the data points and understanding smart buildings. If
Okay.
you're going to go into facilities management in a corporate complex today and you don't understand smart buildings and what value it brings, these types of systems bring to you, you're not going to go very far. You really have to be very savvy about the technology behind buildings today. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not just about who does the best work at fixing things anymore. It's about understanding the big picture of a facility and what makes it run and how to keep it running now.
Okay. And is there any specific technical knowledge required for this area, like any maybe any programming or any other kind of knowledge that is needed?
I don't know from a programming standpoint, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. I think
Okay.
understanding not maybe the software development life cycle is important because you're going to have something, again, going back to smart buildings that are very technical components. You don't need to know how to go in and make that work. You have people who specialize in that. All right. But you need to understand how that technology gets implemented, how you keep it current, how you're going to advance as technology changes. You really need to be very technology savvy in many ways. You just don't have to be a
Mhm.
super technical expert. You don't have to be a top-rated Python developer to go in and run a facility, but you need to understand that if I need an integration, how does that come together? It's not
Right.
something somebody snaps their fingers and you talk across 5 systems. There's a lot of work and effort behind it. So you really need to be very technically and process oriented and understanding.
Okay. So like as you started your career way back, 40 around 40 years before. So here, like if someone, if you got a chance to give one piece of advice to your younger self, then what would be that advice?
Uh, wow, I'm not sure what from my younger self. Now I go back when technology was so new, I never even dreamt of some of the technology that I have it sitting on my iPhone today, even. Um, we were just thinking that mainframes were going to be not the wave of the future for companies, for small business, and things like desktop applications now. I mean, I go back. I told a friend the other day. I kind of was actually serious that I got kicking and screaming into Windows because I was a DOS guy. We
Okay.
and probably half the people that don't even know what DOS is at this point, right? But it's this the change that has taken place is something that I think you really have to be open-minded about. And that's something I think I struggle with some, is I wanted to be an innovator in some ways, but the reality of change was hard to do. But the advice I would give myself too is make sure you understand business more. I switched from
Okay.
more of a technical area as a programmer. I slowly moved into more on the business side, and now I work really about the process, the business, the data. So make sure that if you're going to go into any field like facilities management, even if you're going in a technical or a programming field, you need to understand the business behind it.
Correct.
If you don't understand how the business works, it's going to be very hard. You'll never be a facility manager if you don't understand not just the technology side, but the business side and the process side.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's talk bit about your advisory as a board member. So as an experienced advisory board member, what do you look for in a company or a project when considering a advisory role?
I am I have a weakness for small startups that are trying to go somewhere. I've been
Mhm.
never going to make any money in the advisory role because I don't go for the big companies. I don't really do very much of it, frankly, anymore. I don't have time. But I love companies with when you have an entrepreneur who's got some interesting ideas and trying to go somewhere. I just love to pitch in and help and try to be somebody who sometimes it's more of a mentorship, sometimes it's a former or formal advisory role. But
Mhm.
I really like to help, especially young entrepreneurs who are just trying to make a difference in the world. And that's something that's just important to me. I love mentoring others, and I've been mentoring a young man who's going to be chief operating officer of his family's company in the next year. And things like that are a lot of fun, and you feel like you make a difference in a company that's trying to grow and be something out there.
Okay. All right. So like you have been also nominated with one of the prestigious award, that is IBM Champion. So what do you think, like what does this award mean to you and how it has impacted your professional journey?
Being an IBM champion was something that because I worked for TRIRIGA before IBM bought the company in 2011. So
Mhm.
TRIRIGA in particular, and now Envisi are a couple of products that I've done a lot of work with. And I'm comfortable in the space. I've seen so many different solutions across so many industries. I'm comfortable being on stage in front of hundreds, and I've actually spoken up to 5,000 people before.
Mhm.
And I enjoy that interaction. So it's easy for me to go out and talk about IBM products. And I know so many people in the company that I've just become something of, for lack of a better term, a mouthpiece for IBM in many ways. And that doesn't mean there's other products that I don't talk about. Plan on and Volo and FM Systems, even other products. Um, but I have just been so involved. I mean, TRIRIGA has been part of my life for almost 20 years.
Right.
And I've been so involved across this industry. I was quite honored to become an IBM champion, and I'm up again to be renewed this year for the fifth year. And it is a great honor, and it gives you insight into things IBM's going to do or is doing, sometimes in advance of that becoming public knowledge. So that is really very helpful for us, but not only just with like IBM TRIRIGA or Envisi, but for other things around what they're doing with AI, what they're doing even the mainframe world. And it's really an interesting place to be. And there's a lot of camaraderie out there. There's a great network of IBM champions, pretty small
Yeah.
pool of people if you think about the number of people in IBM and number of users of IBM technology. But it just really is a great networking opportunity too.
Okay. All right. So we all know that you are playing a role of mentor for many of the industries. So like who has been the most impactful mentor or a role model in your career? Like, and what lesson did you learn from them?
Well, I'm been out here long enough in the career that there's been a lot of mentors over the years. And
Yes.
I will tell you though, there's two people in particular, really there's a third I'll mention too, but there's two people in particular that I would consider absolutely life-changing for me.
Okay.
And they were mentors mostly through their publications and their training courses, not so much direct, although I've met both of them in person.
Mhm.
And that would be Gino Wickman and um, I'm drawing a blank now on the second author of the books. But anyway, so if you've ever heard of Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, that really was a life-changing experience for me to become involved in EOS. And Mark Winters is the second person, by the way. So
Okay.
Gino created a way to run a small business that is just amazing. And then Mark Winters created something called Rocket Fuel University, and it's all under EOS now. And how you treat and manage people and treat and manage a business, how you plan for it, how you hold accountability to people. It just completely changed my way of thinking of how to do business. And I consider that almost revolutionary for me. It was absolutely life changing. I'm very involved still. I'm did the integrator mastery class where I'm a graduate of, and I'm very active in the EOS community. And that was the single most life-changing event. And then I would say, in terms of a current mentor inside of the facilities world, is our CEO, Phil Wells. Phil has been in this business for decades. He and I go back about 20 years, but how he runs our company and manages people and his transparency and his honesty and the way he deals with people and the culture the company's built. And I've learned a lot from him just working for him and even interacting over a long time. And I've considered Phil somebody I looked up to for a long time and is definitely currently a mentor.
Okay. And you just mentioned about one community, which is EOS community, I guess. So
Yeah.
could you please tell a bit more about?
EOSworldwide.com is a good place to look up what EOS is. And there's
Okay.
another website called rocketfueluniversity.com. And that talks a lot about the way to manage a business and use some of the tools that they've created. And it is really an unbelievable concept. It's really geared toward companies that are about 250 employees or less, but you can carry into the largest companies some of the concepts. And it really is an amazing way to think about a business.
Okay. All right. And like we all know that you are been consistently contributing for the IT industry, and you are doing various technical things and your professional things. So are there any specific activities you engage in that help you to maintain a balance between the work and personal life?
Yes, I learned, it's been probably 10 years ago. I finally learned I am a workaholic. Okay. And that's not always
Mhm.
a bad thing. A
Right.
workaholic's a bad thing if it destroys your life. But being a
Yes.
workaholic for something that you enjoy and love to do is a different thing. But I once went like 3 years without taking a single vacation day. And you just
Okay.
burn out and you get tired. And I don't do that now. I have work-life balance. I am very much an outdoors person. I have a sailboat. I cycle. I mountain bike. I sport motorcycles, scuba dive, kayak. In the mornings, maybe the single biggest thing I do is most mornings of a week, I actually start by swimming laps in an indoor pool because it clears your mind and helps you get in focus for the day. So the key is to make sure you're taking time for yourself to burn off steam, if you will, to use
Right.
a term, and um, just to take care of your mind and body some. You have to have time to do things that let you clear your mind from the world of work because there's so much data from so many directions and so many challenges and then so many opportunities in the world right now. It's easy to be completely overwhelmed. So do those things that help your body generate the chemicals and all that and keep you healthy and let you focus on success. But it's not the only thing. Business isn't everything. Work isn't everything. You have to have balance. And it's something that took me an awful long time to learn. I think I was in my late 40s before I finally figured that out.
Okay. All right. Okay, so thank you so much, Tracy, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing your expertise with us. I hope you also enjoyed the discussion, and thank you once again.
It was a great discussion. Thank you. And hopefully I probably would know some of your listeners. And we'll see you next year at the conferences and maybe I get a chance to meet you in person.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.